Welcome back to the Wide Shut webcast with me, Keelan Balderson, and today we're jumping over to the Eurozone crisis. You know, it never ceases to amaze me that we can have this openly undemocratic system. The EU's very remit on its own website states that it's about taking sovereignty away from individual nations into ever-increasing integration. Yet some people think it's just a harmless trade agreement. Now, democracy isn't perfect, but at least at one point we did have a bit of a say in our own affairs. Now it really is just an illusion. We're living in the post-democratic era, and nobody knows that better than the Greek people. Unelected EU President Herman Van Rompuy says, "No, Greece, you're not allowed to leave the EU superstate." On behalf of Euro area leaders, we want Greece to remain in the Euro area while respecting its commitments, he stated. We are fully aware of the significant efforts already made by the Greek citizens, but they must continue with their vital reforms. If Greece leaves, it exposes the EU for what it really is, a debt black hole that is being mined by the banksters. If they walk away and default, the whole Ponzi scheme comes collapsing down, and the holders of the debt have to go fuck themselves. Now, for those that don't know what happened to Greece, basically in the early 2000s it was in a lot of debt, and none other than Goldman Sachs came along and devised a little scheme to make that debt disappear from the balance sheet. Greece's debt managers agreed a huge deal with the savvy bankers of US investment bank Goldman Sachs at the start of 2002. The deal involved so-called cross-currency swaps, in which government debt issued in dollars and yen was swapped for euro debt for a certain period, to be exchanged back into the original currencies at a later date. Such transactions are part of normal government refinancing. Europe's governments obtain funds from investors around the world by issuing bonds in yen, dollar or Swiss francs, but they need euros to pay their daily bills. Years later, the bonds are repaid in the original foreign denominations. But in the Greek case, the US bankers devised a special kind of swap with a fictional exchange rate. That enabled Greece to receive a far higher sum than the actual euro market value of $10 billion or yen. In that way, Goldman Sachs secretly arranged additional credit of up to $1 billion for the Greeks. And they didn't have to tell the people about it. Goldman Sachs ended up making more in profit than the original loan amount itself, and of course the people of Greece then had to pick up the tab on all that debt. Now, as that debt was accumulating, the EU decided to bail out Greece, creating more debt so they could stay within the EU, and the people of Greece are burdened with that debt as well. Does anybody go to jail? Do any Goldman Sachs heads go to jail? No, because the whole world is pretty much run by criminal bankers. Greece's Prime Minister, who is openly described as nothing more than a caretaker for the EU elite, pledged his support and even thanked the superstate for bailing them out and further indebting Europe to the banksters. Van Rompuy noted that member states have disbursed together with the IMF nearly 150 billion euros in support of Greece since 2010. However, the EU bureaucrats are panicking because the Greek people are starting a run on the banks, and the far left party, who will tell the EU to stick it, are leading in the polls. If the Greek people walk away like Iceland and expose this debt as nothing more than fictional, it might not be pretty to start with, but at least we can rebuild with real value and without unelected suits making all the decisions. For the full story and today's other headlines, please visit wideshut.co.uk or visit the links in the info box below.
I think a new world order is emerging, and with it the foundations of
the Great Depression, and I will cry every day. The result of Labour's economic management, your child will have debts among the biggest anywhere at any time in history.
I want to get straight to the point. I'm a second-rate substitute Tony Blair. Let me tell you why I want to be Prime Minister. It's because I want to live in a large, very warm house worth over £1 million. We will never change. We are still the arrogant, callous, ruthless, wicked Tories. And do you know what? We won't help anyone. I will skip across the playground and give the money to the rich, and we'd have a new world order.
Wideshirt.co.uk. If they won't tell you the truth, we will.